a gospel. So this morning from Joshua. Then Joshua, son of Nun, sent 2 men secretly from Shittim as spies, saying, "Go view the land, especially Jericho." So they went and entered the house of a prostitute who was named Rehab and spent the night there. Am I off, Linda? No, I'm on. And spent the night there. The king of Jericho was told, "Some Israelites have come here tonight to search out the land." Then the king of Jericho sent orders to Rahab, "Bring out the men who have come to you, who entered your house, for they have come to search out the whole land." But the woman took the 2 men and hid them. Then she said, "True, the men came to me, but I did not know where they came from. And when it was time to close the gate at dark, the men went out. Where the men went, I do not know. Pursue them quickly, for you can overtake them." She had, however, brought them up to the roof and hidden them with the stalks of flax that she had laid out on the roof. So the men pursued them on the way to the Jordan as far as the fords. As soon as the pursuers had gone, the gate was shut. Before they went to sleep, she came out up to them on the roof and said to the men, "I know that the Lord has given you the land, and the dread of you has fallen on us, and that all the inhabitants of the land melt in fear before you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea before you came out of Egypt, and what you did do to the 2 kings of the Amorites, who were beyond the Jordan, to Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed. As soon as we heard, our hearts melted, and there was no courage left in us because of you. The Lord your God is indeed God in heaven above and on earth below. Now then, since I have dealt kindly with you, swear to me by the Lord, you in turn will deal kindly with my family. Give me a sign of good faith, that you will spare my father and mother, my brothers and sisters, and all who belong to them, and deliver our lives from death." The men said to her, our life for yours. If you do not tell the business of ours, then we will deal kindly and faithfully with you when the Lord gives us land." Then she let them down by a rope through the window, for her house was on the outer side of the city wall, and she resided within the wall itself. She said to them, "Go toward the hill, and so that the pursuers may not come upon you. Hide yourselves there 3 days until the pursuers have returned, and afterward you may go to your way." The men said to her, "We will be released from this oath that you have made us swear to you. If we invade the land and you do not tie the crimson cord in the window through which you let us down, and you do not gather into your house your father and mother, your brothers, and all of your family, if you do go out of doors, your house into the street, they will be responsible for their own death, and we shall be innocent. But a hand is laid upon any of who are with you in the house. We shall bear the responsibility for their death. But if you tell the business of ours, then we shall be released from this oath, and you made us swear to you." She said, "According to your words, so be it." She sent them away, and they departed. And then she tied the crimson cord in the window. And now let us hear from Luke. When they had finished everything required by the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee, to their own town of Nazareth. The child grew and became strong, filled with wisdom, and the favor of God was upon him. Now every year his parents went to Jerusalem for the festival of the Passover. And when he was 12, they went up as usual for the festival. When the festival was ended and they started to return, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem, but his parents were unaware of this. Assuming that he was in the group of travelers, they went a day's journey. Then they started to look for him among their relatives and friends. When they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem to search for him. May these readings from Joshua and Luke inspire us to live for love.
Thanks be to God. To say I am over strong and prosperous women being disparaged would be an exceptional understatement. Rahab is referred to as a prostitute, but that doesn't square with the rest of the story about her. She lives with her family. And the word we have received as prostitute is more like matron or even boss. Rahab is the head of her household. She also has flax on the roof, which might well indicate that she makes textiles. Of course, when men who have been shown up are the ones writing the history, it's amazing how often women's resumes change. There are a couple of ways to look at Rahab's actions. On the one hand, it is only because of her that the Hebrew spies are not caught. In turning against the Canaanites, her own people, she unlocks the door to the promised land for the invaders. On the other hand, they would have every reason to view her as a traitor. She unlocked the gates and let these people in. Truthfully, both of these are far too simplistic. Rahab isn't just opportunistic, she is foresighted, quick thinking, and poised under pressure. Rahab doesn't really hide the men, at least not well. She places them on her roof among her flax. The spies would only be hidden if they stayed very, very low. And even then, they could easily be spotted, or Rahab could easily give them away. In short, these men are only as safe as Rahab wants them to be. She also uses a tool women have employed, well, forever. She speaks with timidity while acting with strength and authority. Rahab tells these men what they want to hear while doing what she needs to do. She creates a negotiating environment conducive to her needs, guaranteeing the safety of a widely extended family group that includes her parents, her siblings, and all who belong to them. Friends, that could literally be half of the town of Jericho. But clearly, the men aren't counting while they are so vulnerable. They only do the math later. But by then, they have sworn. Too late. On Tuesday of this week, Mackenzie Scott, the former wife of Jeff Bezos, surpassed $20 billion in charitable giving. Her most recent round of funding went to Native American and community colleges, following her giving to Howard University and other HBCUs. All schools aggressively underfunded by the current regime, presumably because these schools serve a higher rate of Black, brown, and Indigenous people. This is consistent with Scott's giving, including $1 million to our own local Y. Since she divorced Jeff Bezos in 2019, Mackenzie Scott has focused her giving on countering the manipulation and acts of conquest her ex-husband and other members of the billionaires' cabal have been engaged in. Her giving is without strings attached. Her expansive and inclusive choices are a lot like hiding the spies in plain sight on the roof. Scott is, in essence, showing the hypocrisy and greed of Bezos and company without ever bothering to point to them. They cannot stop her. They're unwilling to rise to her moral high ground, and so all they can do is silently seethe in the face of her inclusive political machinations. It's worth mentioning that the story of conquest in the Bible didn't happen in history. It wasn't a conquest. It was a decades-long migration. Rahab read the room. She was not working for the Hebrews or against the Canaanites. She was grasping that they were all there to stay, so better to do so peacefully. Scott reads the room for peace as well. The federal government tries to sneak devastating cuts into the midst of chaos. She just does her part to direct resources and attention where they belong. Both of these women act with a very prime of life flavor of wisdom. They know their worth. They know what matters to them, and therefore they believe in their own agency. Elizabeth, on the other hand, speaks from the wisdom of reflection. Circumstances are drawing her back into the center of things, but she is coming at the events of the moment with the benefit of time, experience, and a deeper sense of the long game. We never get to know a young Elizabeth, so all we can do is speculate. Though her boldness in greeting Mary says to me, she is not a yes, dear type of woman. Most of us, when we think of Maya Angelou, think of her not as a young woman, but in her breathtakingly stately silver tones and years. Maya Angelou lived a lot of life before she became the Dr. Angelou we know. Some of it was wonderful, some of it absolutely terrible, and all of it making her the voice of wisdom, crafter of poetry, and remaker of culture she grew into. If we gloss over the challenges of Maya's young life, we deny the transcendence of her later wisdom. And I get the feeling something similar could be said of Elizabeth. One of them sees, before a word is spoken, that two women from opposite ends of life will produce two children who will reshape the moral fabric of the world. The other gives shape and depth to the struggle for civil rights and human dignity, both humanizing and elevating the realities of Black women in America. Do you see what I see? I see women who turned their detractors into their agents, who played a game that considered them pawns and prizes in ways that turned them into winners. I see women who took years of hard-won experience and turned it into new ways of seeing the present moment, change agents when they were supposed to be retiring grandmotherly types. I see workers of miracles, minor and major. I see women understand that peace is not the absence of action. It's not stillness. They see that peace is a clear vision of what does the most good for the most people while causing the least harm. These women embody God's peace because they are keenly aware that peace is never a static state. Let's get that one right. Peace is never a static state. That's apathy. These women embody peace because they understand that peace must be nurtured like a child, like a family, like a city, like a nation. Who we see when we read the stories in the Bible is all too often determined by our earliest Sunday school memories, hemmed in by the comfort and predictability of our own lives, or filed down to perfect smoothness by a misguided belief that for things to be sacred, they must also be neat and tidy. This does a great disservice to our understanding of the Bible. It does a great disservice to who we see when we look in the mirror. Unless you grew up in a parallel universe from where I grew up, you were trained to be the made-for-TV version of yourself, the tidy version. You've almost certainly wasted countless hours, days, maybe years of your life trying to be her or him, but we have a theme going here right now. And in trying to be a Photoshop version of yourself, you have delayed being who you truly are. Beloved, the world will never be a tidy place. Celebrate if there is a moment where everything is orderly, but don't get used to it. And if the world is never going to be a tidy, predictable, made-for-TV space, you don't have to be either. Drop the veil of expectation. You are Rahab. You are Mackenzie Scott. You are Elizabeth and Maya Angelou. You are Mary, daunted but not downtrodden. You are a force for peace. Who got up this morning, stumbled into the bathroom, and said, Good morning, Force for Peace. I see you. You can try it tomorrow, though. And the sooner you see yourself as such, the sooner you will be able to get out of your own way and rise above the impossible expectations of the world and embrace the remarkable expectations of a mothering and loving God. Do you see it yet? Do you see you yet? If not, look again.